Hey guys, my name's Cameron with Mahogany House Woodworks, and we're going to talk today just about the process of making a cutting board down here. All of the wood for our boards are locally sourced, and every board is handmade from start to finish here in Nampa, Idaho. The first thing that happens when we get an order in is we pick out the wood. So whether you've ordered a maple, a cherry, or a walnut board, or some other kind of board, the first process is picking wood out for it. So down here we have some different kinds of wood. We've got walnut, we've got some cherry, some maple. These are the main boards that we use for making cutting boards, but every now and then we'll make something out of oak or some other kind of material. Maple is definitely the hardest board, so if you're looking for durability, maple, especially in an end-grained board, is going to be the best one. If you're looking for a board that looks as good as it performs, then you can't go wrong with walnut. You can get some really beautiful figure in a piece of walnut board, and also some really great color variation that you won't find in a board like maple or cherry. So if you're going for looks, walnut's the way to go. Cherry is just a great all-around board. It's durable, it's beautiful. It can also be a great decision for a board choice to fit your interior. So sometimes, a maple or a walnut board just won't jive with what you got going on in your kitchen, and cherry can be a great choice as well. Probably the next decision to be made is whether you would want a face grain, an edge grain, or an end grain board. And that, again, just depends on what you're using it for. Face grain board, especially a walnut, can be really beautiful. So if it's something that you're using more for show or for entertaining or for charcuterie, that's a really great option. If you're cutting big old steaks and prime rib on your board all the time, you're going to want an end grain board. And an edge grain is kind of in between the two. Really great option for butcher block or countertop type material. But most of what people get through us is going to be a face grain or an end grain. And so we can kind of show you some options for that. All right, so here we have some examples of some of the boards that we put out. Here's a great example of a nice, beautiful walnut face grain. Here's another beautiful face grain board that shows you just how much figure and contrast you can get in a board like cherry with this sapwood and the heartwood. Here's a great maple end grain. Shows you what we can do when you order an end grain board, some of the different looks that can come out of that. Every board is different. So, we cut the trees, but we don't grow the trees. We don't always get to determine what's on the inside. And you never know sometimes when you are milling up a board what you're going to find. And sometimes it can be really beautiful. All right, so the next part of the process, once you've decided what kind of board you want, what kind of wood you want, is we start milling it up. So that involves cutting it to size, bringing it over to the table saw, running it through the table saw, just getting it to the dimensions that you want, and then we go on to glue up. So here's an example of a maple end grain board that we have glued up. You can see that end grain, all the strips, that really increases its durability, because when you're cutting into the fibers, which then close back up after your knife's gone through, lasts a lot longer, doesn't get as deep of gouges as something like a face grain. So if you're doing a lot of cutting, this is definitely the way to go. So for all of our glue ups, we use Titebond 3. This is a great option for something that's going to have food on it, because it's non-toxic. It's not going to get into your food. It's totally safe. If you like to eat glue, it's a great option. But it won't harm you for this to be something that you put your food on. So that's what we use to glue up all of our cutting boards. All right, so here we've got a great board with all the accoutrements that you might want in your order. Once a board comes out of clamps, We flatten it either with the drum sander or the planer, and then it goes into the finished process. First thing that happens is we sand it. We sand them down to 150, so it's nice and smooth. The next thing that happens is we might throw a juice groove in it. That's a great option for if you're cutting a lot of meat on it, a lot of steaks. That way the juices get caught in this groove and they don't go off onto the table or the countertop that you're working on. Some folks want a hanging hole, which is another great option that we offer. This would be a good thing for like a charcuterie board, something that you might hang up on the wall, something maybe that's decorative. On all of our boards, we throw a nice profile. We router the edges either with a round over or this chamfer. That just creates a smoother profile so that you're not, touching something that's sharp. And also it makes it more durable so that it's not getting chipped or broken. Another option is routed handles. So especially if you have a bigger board, this makes them a lot easier to pick up. And for our really bigger boards, another great option is feet. So sometimes if you've got a big board on the countertop and you don't have handles, you don't have feet, then it can be really hard to pick up and maneuver. Another benefit to having some feet on your board is that if you have a really big board and it's spending a lot of time only having one surface used, this can keep it from warping or cupping. Another thing that we provide is custom engraving. So whether it's a gift for a friend or family member or something for your business or just something for your own home, we do custom engravings, which can include different kinds of pictures, different lettering, fonts, different sizes. Pretty much the sky's the limit on engraving your board to be the way that you want it. Yeah, so mineral oil, one, it's a natural oil, so it's non-toxic, it's safe, it's food safe, food grade, white mineral oil. It soaks into the wood and also helps with durability and just protects the wood, makes it durable over time so it's not going to dry out, crack. Sometimes, on small cuts and gouges, it can kind of help to fill that in. We don't soak it in mineral oil, so it does dry on there so that your hands aren't getting greasy or anything after you've touched it. Once it gets to the customer, it's good and cured in there. So it's really great. Putting oil on is the best part of the process because it really makes a board pop. You kind of get to see what you've made, what you've been working with. Really brings out some of the vibrancy and some of the contrast sometimes in a board. That's our finished process.